So I'm Paulina Jędrzejewska. I moved a bit. Originally, I'm from Poland, Szczecin, up there. Then I moved to Berlin, where I studied business mathematics. While I was studying, I started making mobile apps, and there where I learned C#. And I discovered I don't like front end, and I don't like programming. So, but I like I like scripting, and I love Power BI for the modeling part. So visualization. If you ask me to build a report, I will do that, but it will be great. So then I moved to Munich, where I currently also working in this amazing company called Betelligent. I'm Microsoft certified trainer, so my daily business is consulting and training. And last year I moved to Zurich. If you never went to Zurich, just book a flight. It's amazing. So everything you will see today will be on GitHub afterwards. And I'm also to find on LinkedIn if you have any questions in the future. The agenda for today. First, I will talk about what makes it a perfect couple. What's the things that I really like about this couple. Then we will cover the basics of C# scripting and calculation groups. And then we will see the power couple in action. There will be a lot of demos along the way. So, first, who works with Power BI? Raise your hand. That's really good. Who knows calculation groups and worked with them? Okay, also good. And who already did something with C#? Great. And scripting in Power BI and Tabular Editor? Really good. So we will cover the basics as well, so everyone is on the same page. So what makes it a perfect couple? Why I love working with C# and calculation groups? The thing is, I'm a consultant, and mostly I was working with clients that are really embracing the self-service. So they were giving people all the power just to make their reports based on datasets that BI department built. And the thing is, calculation groups are great, but they are not that flexible as somebody will want. And that can be fixed with C#, and that's what we are going to do today. So for the self-service, I see there are 3 stages. The first one is no self-service, where the BI department is doing everything. It's doing the semantic model, then the report, and the users are just consumers. It's good. It's a lot to do for the BI department, and the consumers have to wait for other people to do the stuff. So I'm not the biggest fan of it, but mostly in the companies I worked, the whole 3 stages were there simultaneously. So then we have the medium self-service. That's the thing we will be talking today a lot. So medium self-service is when, for me, these are the definitions I came up with, so it's not approved by anyone. So. Medium self-service is when the BI department makes the data set. And then the people the power users are just doing reports, analysis, Excel, I don't know, everything they want. I think it's great because they don't have to wait for BI department to build their report and then make this 5 loop of feedback just to get it right. So that's the best idea for me and the consumers, because they're also consumers. They're getting the report from people that know the data better than BI department. And as well, we have this full self-service, is where the BI department just oversees the admin stuff. So it's also a thing. But yeah, as I said, today we will concentrate on the medium self-service. Now we will go to the showcase. And for that, I have to switch to Power BI. So you remember I said that calculation groups are not that flexible as I would like it to be. So the thing is, if you have a visualization where you just put your calculation groups in, it's nice. You can show every data you want, and for example, with a time intelligence, yeah, like actuals, previous year, and the difference between them, it's fine. But what my clients mostly like to see is something like that, when you have the actuals, then in the next column you have the previous year, then you have the delta. Yeah, but calculation groups don't do that. That's why in the first table, we just took the time intelligence here. Like this calculation group, just put it in the visual, it works. In the second one, we have every single one of these columns as a just measure there. So what we did, we are not using the time intelligence here. We are just using measures. But yeah, defining all these measures by hand will be terrible. Will be really terrible. I have a client where there are like 20, 60 measures. And then let's do it for, I don't know, 5 calculation items. It's a lot. So here we will be using C# just to get it automated, because I'm not crazy to do that by hand. So that's it on the showcase. And then next, I have to switch to the... Oh, I'm on the beginning again. So we were here. Yeah, C# scripting. I brought to you today 2 memes, my favorite memes on the internet. So let that sink in. With automation, you'll always have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Do I need that for another stuff? But mostly with datasets, yeah. Because the problems are the same in every dataset. So which task can you automate with C#? First one, I mentioned already, is creating measures. You also can delete measures. So, you know, the departments are coming to you mostly with crazy ideas, like, now I want every measure to have another name or another suffix or something. You can also do that with with C#. Just rename the objects as you like. You can also give it some structure by moving the measures into folders, for example, and change the formatting. You can do a lot more, but these are the topics we will be covering today. Okay, why should you do that? Why should you use C# in there? Yeah, we as people are, every one of you like defined a measure in Power BI. So you know that. You are clicking, waiting, typing, waiting. It's a lot of waiting. So C# is faster than people mostly, but it also can just go through a bunch of measures in a second. We can do that, Power BI can do that, but in Tabular Editor with C# we are able to do that. It's reusable, so you can use it in every data model you have in your company if you parameterize it right. And you can force homogeneous structure in your data set, so like naming conventions and stuff, because it's easy to mess it up if you are typing, but with a script, it's genius. And the best one, there are no more tedious tasks for you. So C# takes care of everything. What do you need to start scripting? Easy. Tabular editor, at least in version 2. Then Power BI desktop. And I use code editor. You can also code in tabular editor, but it's not so pleasant. So I'm using Visual Studio Code mostly. And we switch to demo again. So here we are. So that's my code. I will be copying everything from here. So you will see it in Tabular Editor afterwards. But first, let's take a look at the model I prepared for you. It's nothing crazy. I just have here a sales table as my fact table. I have some dimensions, customer, store, product, and date. Today we will need mostly date and sales. So in sales table, probably you can see there are some KPIs. And they have the name KPI. That's how we can tell they have to be summed up. So remember that because we will need it afterwards. Okay, then we will just go to external tools and Tabular Editor. If you can't find it there, you have to install it or just find it on your desktop if already installed and just not showing up. So, and waiting. I have some preview features, but doesn't matter. So here we are. So the model in Tabular Editor is pretty easy to understand. So we have a model, and in this model we have stuff like data sources, we have stuff like perspective, relationships, tables, and all other stuff. And in the tables, we have the sales table, we have our dimensions tables and stuff. And in these tables, we have columns and measures. So that's it. It's always going from the model, starting at the model and going down to the smallest items, artifacts in this model. So I just show you here are the tables you saw in the Power BI view. Okay, but where is the scripting? There is a tab here. I'll make it bigger. Here is the tab for C# scripting. So this is the expression editor where you can see DAX, and here is C#. So when we are there, first thing everyone does when learning a new language is just hello world. Let's print it. So printing here is for debugging mostly really good because you don't get any other output. So let's start with that. Then font. It's that easy. And I hit start. And we have our first command. So now you can see sharp. It's done. Okay, this is the first. Then we have some samples here. So if you don't want to start your code on your own, you just can take the samples, like look through something like columns, measures, tables. You can do that with the samples. You also can create your own templates. If I write something here, I can edit it with this plus here. So it's pretty convenient. So, any questions till now? Yeah?
How can I share my scripts, my C# scripts with the rest of my team?
The question was, how can you share your scripts with your team? I will do this through GitHub. It's the easiest way because Power BI doesn't support anything, I think. Any other questions? Okay, then let's go and start. You remembered I told you here in the sales table we have all these KPI columns. What we want to do, we just want to, for every column, create a measure with a sum. Pretty easy. So I prepared some code sample for that. Just copy and paste. Oh, I have to make it smaller so you can see it. Just adjusting. So let's go through it together. First thing I will do here, I will just define my measures table. So where these measures I will create will go. So for that, I'm taking the model. Then I look for the tables there, and I specify that I want the table measures. This is our target. And now let's see the source. So KPI source table is my model, tables, and then sales. Pretty easy. So what I will do then, I will just loop through all the columns in my sales table. So I just go there for each, then I define the variable, and I loop through source table, so this one, and the columns in it. So I'm now looping through all these columns here, but I don't want to create measures for every column in there. So I just filter it with a if statement on only the ones that that have KPI in the name. And then I can create a measure for every one of them. So the measure is created by calling the measure table because it has to have a home. Then you have the function add measure, and you go and say what's the measure name. So it takes only 3 arguments. It's the column name, it's the DAX expression, and it's the folder. Everything else you have add afterwards, after the measure is created. So my DAX is pretty easy. I will just take the sum. And now the interesting thing. Here I take the name. Here I take the DAX object full name. The thing is, if you take the name, you will just get like KPI unit price or KPI quantity. But for DAX, you need the whole table and measure and column, so it knows where it's from. And that's DAX object full name. And just to be structured, I added some display folder. And now we can run the code and see what happens. So before that, I will just open this one. So you see here, I have only one folder in my measures table, like here. I don't have anything else. So I just run the code, and magically, it appears. So here, I have now a new folder generated from columns with new measures, KPI quantity, KPI unit price, and so on. If I click on the measure and go to expression editor, I can see that it's just a sum of the column. Pretty easy. So, are we done? No, we are not, because if we go now to Power BI, we will see there is nothing here. In table editor, you have to save your stuff. So save with Control S or just this button here. And now we should see the folder here and our measures. So that's the first thing we wanted to do. But as I show you in the showcase, we are not done yet. But for the next part, we need calculation groups. So let's go back to my presentation. And the right slide is here, calculation groups. Coming, okay. So I heard that calculation groups are scary. from some people. They are not. They are just like this template for your calculations. You just write your code, write your definition, and it will be transferred to another measures. So it's a feature in data modeling. So I don't do visualization. So we are staying in data modeling. And this is called mostly container, calculation container. I think template is a better word for that. But the beautiful thing about it, you can take the calculation item and you can use it on multiple measures at once. So you define your code once and it's basically done. And there is no alteration to your base measure. So if I have my measure KPI unit price, then I will just take my calculation item, use it on the measure, but the measure itself is still the same. So I can use it everywhere else, just like the normal measure. So why is the biggest question. Why to use that? It simplifies things because you don't have to write your code in every single measure, like the same period last year for last year or something. And I know for a fact that every company has its own definition on last year, and it changes through the years. So you have to alter it every time. And with calculation items, calculation groups, you have everything in one place, so it's pretty easy to manage. Yeah, and it's flexible. So you can just use the calculation items as a filter and just say, I want to see now last year and previous month, and in the next few minutes I can see everything else I have there. So it's pretty flexible. And as I said, it's easy to manage then because everything is in one place. The use cases I saw at my clients were mostly time intelligence. Yeah, really mostly the time intelligence. But I saw also a currency conversion for that, dynamic measure formatting, and dynamic aggregations. So when you have like a measure that should be different every time somebody looks at it, you can use that. So let's define some calculation items. So where are we? Here. Okay. Till recently, you couldn't do that in Power BI. You had to go in Tabular Editor to define your calculation items. I see nodding, yeah. Now you can do it in Power BI. I still don't like it, but it's like with the measures. You have to click, wait, click, wait. So let's do it in Tabular Editor. In Tabular Editor, it's easy. We just need to switch to Expression Editor. We are there, and in the tables here, I will just click on the tables and create new. Create new calculation group. And we are basically done. We have to give it a name and then define the calculation items. So I name it time intelligence. This is empty for now. So I just create a new item. For that, just click on the calculation items and create a new item. It's so straightforward. So the code for that I will just copy because I don't like doing this in demos. So we have actuals. Actuals is just selected measure because we want to give the measure brackets, nothing else. Pretty easy. Let's name it actuals and done. Then we will add previous year. Previous year is also nothing special. We will just create a new item and it's calculate selected measure. Selected measure is our placeholder. Sorry, I didn't say that. And we just shift the time frame 1 year back. So pretty easy as well. Previous year and done. The third one I wanted to implement was actuals minus previous year. This is a little bit more tricky, but I think this is the beauty of calculation items. You can use it as a filter. That's pretty neat because you don't have to multiply the code of it. So for that, I will just calculate, then this selected measure, and then I will just use my time intelligence as a filter, and I filter on these calculation items. So you have to be careful with that, because if you do too many steps and too many nested measures and calculation items, it won't work properly. But with simple stuff like that, it should be fine. So I do this for actuals, I do this for previous year, and I just divide it to see the change. So I need the name as well. Here's the name for that. And we have 3 calculation items. We are fine with that for today. I just have to adjust my names because I saw that I typed it wrong. That's why I don't type in demos. So here is this one. And I need time intelligence. So this name here is the name of your calculation items thingy here. Oh, sorry, no, the name here. Yeah, the name here, and I can't click on it. That's why I'm doing it down. Okay. Oh, I didn't copy it right. Second, I need a second. So here we are. Now it should work. So I will save it. We go to Power BI again, and we have our time intelligence. And I just...
I think there was one missing space.
missing in the code definition of the time intelligence. In AC. Oh, here.
There was one missing. There was a space there. Yeah.
There was, but it doesn't.
Did you refresh it?
Yeah. Oh, no, we are fine again. Thank you very much for your help. So now we have our time intelligence. We can build the graph we had in the table we had before with the calculation items, just like I will take the time intelligence, I will take my measures, KPI, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So it's transposed, I think. Yeah, it's in columns. And then I have to take date in here, but not date, the year, calendar year in the rows. And we are pretty there where we were in the showcases. So we saw now C# scripting and calculation items. Any questions? No questions. Okay. So let's go and just marry them. They dated enough. So right now I will just copy the script, place it in Tabular Editor and C# scripting. So let's go through code again. Everybody can see fine. Yeah? Okay, great. So again, we have our measure table, so where our measure will go afterwards. We have our source table. This time it's called base measures because, yeah, I have to prepare it a little bit. And here I will take all these measures. Yeah, I will take all these measures and put it in a new display folder and call it base. This will be our base measures, please. Again. Yeah, demos. So we have our base measure folder. So we just are filtering our measure table and the measures in this measure table only on these ones where the display folder is called generate from columns and then base. The subfolder is base. So we have to do a list of it and then we can iterate through it. So iterating, as before, we are just doing the for each function, just iterate through the base measures, pretty easy. But now we have this KPI in the name. I don't like that, so I will just remove that, and that's why I created the correct measure name. So I'm just taking this KPI off. Okay, we are now looping through our measures. But for every measure, we want to create a new measure for every calculation item. So we have to loop through calculation items for every measure. That's why the second for each function. And then there we just go to the calculation items in our model tables time intelligence. Oh, this is a great thing I forgot to tell you. You can drag and drop in Tabular Editor, and it's really amazing because you don't have to come up with the names. So you just can take this measure and put it here, or you can just take your time intelligence column and just drop it here. So I like that a lot, and I use it a lot because there is no really like documentation, good documentation for it. So that's what you're left with. Okay, so we are looping through the measures, we are looping through the calculation items, and now let's create calculation measure as we did before, just with the function add measure. This time we are taking the correct measure name, and they cannot be two measures with the same name, so we have to add something to it. So we are just taking the calculation item name, just to differentiate between them. Then we take the calculate function, and we are using, as before in the AC minus py, just the calculation item as a filter with the calculation name and stuff. And we are segregated it to folders, and it's done. So let's play it. Oh, thank you.
No, curly brace.
Oh, wait. I will just copy it again. It's easier. So, thank you. So let's play it. And what's happened? We have now here a new folder, and in this folder we have new folders. And in every folder, we have measures with the calculation items. So now we can just do what we did in the showcase. We can just put the measures how we want it and where we want it. And we are not dependent on the order of the calculation items or something like that. So that's what I wanted to show you. But I have one more thing, like special thing for that. So we have our measures. We have our measures with calculation items. It's all fine. But when you give your semantic model to the power user, he has no idea what's the definition. That's the biggest problem for my users. It's like, what's this measure? So before I had to write the documentation for it. Now I know C#. So what I will do, I will just go there, and after I create my measures, I will add description to it. And I will do that like this. Second. Oh no, I will copy the whole thing because, yeah, you know, demos. Just copy, paste. So you can also copy and paste because I will share this with you. So what I did, so here I am creating my measure, and that's why I'm doing this with a variable. So I created my measure, and then I will taking this measure and setting the description to my new description. And my new description is what's the base of it, and then what's the calculation item of it. So to do that, I have to just delete this one because then I will have everything double, and I don't wanna. So now let's run the code. Everything is there. Let's click on one of the measures, and somewhere here, yeah, here, you can see we have our base and we have our calculation, like what's the calculation behind that. So if I now save that, my power users are really capable of doing amazing reports can just go look at the measures, just hover over, and they see what's the base, what's the calculation. I don't have to write the whole documentation for it. So that's it. I'm done. Everything I wanted to show you, I did. So are there any questions? Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can do that, and you should that with C#. Yeah. So if there are no questions, thank you very much. I hope you had fun today. Oh, yeah, the feedback. Yeah, this one. A second. Here we go. So please leave some feedback. Here is my LinkedIn if you want to connect, and down is my GitHub where you can find the slide deck and everything after this session. I didn't upload it yet. It will come in the next days. So thank you very much.